and in today's video we did a couples predictions, and this reading, which I've actually already done and I'm doing the intro now, really just shows how subtle and complex the human experience is. And I love it for that reason. And I'm really happy with the overall happy endings for all of these. So get pumped, get excited. In addition to that excitement, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. It helps out like you would not believe. But if you would like to enjoy some spooky related videos, I have over on my Patreon for this month those type of related videos. And you can even ask your own questions, and I investigate the answers and stuff like that. But we're starting off strong with one. I looked into the Akashic Records and consulting my spirit guides about understanding why do random doors and staircases just appear in forests. And the second one was we did a part 1 to, drum roll please, mermaids. It was not what I anticipated it would be in the best way possible, and I left it to be something that we will definitely continue as a series because there is just so much information, and I think that that's so fun and cool. So if you're interested in that, please go check that out. You're also welcome to ask any other questions over there that we dive deeper into. In addition to that, I also have my courses if you're interested in them: intuition training course, tarot training course, and meditation training course. All of them found down below. But let's get started with our group reading, and take a second to think of your partner, and I'm going to give you a moment. Also, this includes for newer and longer term relationships as well. And I want you to pick the group that you resonate with most. We got 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to give you a moment to do that. Now that you have, you can go to the description for all of that information to skip to your designated group as well. I'll see you there, but let's get started with group number 1. Group number 1, let's look at your couples predictions by looking at the cards. We have your affirmation card. True manifestations are powered by service and love, which we're going to break down more later, and wow, that's already giving me context for that affirmation card. Our tarot cards are Queen of Swords in reverse. Okay, 10 of Pentacles in reverse. 4 of Pentacles upright. Oh wow, I'm already seeing how this connects with the Page of Swords upright. We've already got a deep turnaround connection going on there, but let me just verify looking at all the details and talking to my spirit guides, because I'm already getting a really clear vibe of what's going on. So just give me one moment to do that. Yeah, okay, so this one's great because it first starts off not so great. We're going to have a little bit of a difficult discussion initially, but I want you to hold on. Don't worry, it's a good thing. It will be a sense of relief having the discussion, and then it's going to move in a very positive direction overall for the relationship. So yay! Okay, so first let's start with our affirmation card over here. True manifestations are powered by service and love. Now, the idea of doing something kind for your partner is something I want you to hold on more as an idea, and we'll kind of come back to and relate back to it more as we get over to these parts of the cards. But let's just talk about this idea in general, because what I see over here energetically and what I'm being told as well from my spirit guides in the Queen of Swords in reverse might be initially difficult for you to hear. It's basically implying when you go to do something nice, some sort of gesture, it could be something small, like maybe you made them a cup of coffee casually while you were making yourself a cup of coffee. Or it could be something much bigger of you helping them out, or, maybe you choose to do something that maybe isn't your favorite thing because it's their favorite thing, or whatever have you. I kind of get much stronger of a vibe, if I'm being honest with you, of just general kind acts of service towards this other person. But when you do it, what is your motive? Is your motive like, I hope they do something nice for me later? Or there is the sense of motivation of love to one degree, but there is the frustration of being like, I'm doing this, I wish they did something nice for me. Or feeling maybe like it's an obligation, like there's a part of you that doesn't want to let go of the, how do I say this? I'm going to just say it. It's like there's a part of your brain that's like, if I'm going to feel frustrated at them that they're not returning this, I want to feel like I can tell myself, okay, I continued the narration of doing acts of service. So when I feel frustrated at them, I can say to myself, well, I did it. Like you're kind of just doing it so you can have that narrative to yourself. Do you see what I'm saying here? So I'm definitely sensing some frustrations and bitterness in the relationship itself, which is okay. That's just sometimes where people are at. People are, interacting in ways that maybe aren't the most communicative, like as in both parties, and it can change a person and how they view someone else and even view their world. So understandable. So the first thing that might be difficult to hear is you're going to get into a better place. We're going to talk about this later going on. And you're going to do the best you can to get there. And when you feel like you're able to, you're going to return back to doing kind gestures to your partner. And you always want to ask yourself, if I want this relationship to turn into what I maybe previously felt connected to, or even better, what it could evolve into, an even better version of why you initially fell in love with them, I need to know that my intentions when I do something kind for them are just because I love them. That's it. Not an ulterior motive. And again, ulterior motive, I'm not implying sneakiness. I'm implying somebody who's like deep in thought, processing the frustrations of the relationship. But this is somebody who's kind of taken that moment to process those frustrations. And when they come back to, getting that cup of coffee as a kind gesture, they're just thinking, I love this person. I bet they would really enjoy this. And that's it. Because it's that idea that what you're putting into it is kind of, I don't know if I want to necessarily say what you put in is what you get back, because I don't know, sometimes that's too simple and sometimes things are more complicated than that. So you can take that as one narration. It's much more a combination of the energy of you feeling lighter and happier, because you're entering the act and entering the interaction with this other person feeling a lot more like yourself, because deep in your heart you are a very loving person. The interactions between this other person brought out another side of you. Not another side we should criticize or anything. All your feelings are valid, but truly you'd like the part that a lot of people feel frustrated or bitter in a relationship in is you don't feel like yourself anymore. And who you are is a kind, loving person. So you're taking a moment for yourself. And when you return to interacting with someone, you're only coming at it from the place of you. So you're both enjoying that you're yourself, you're enjoying the interaction, because when you're going to go give them this act of service, you're giving them that cup of coffee, they are thinking, you're thinking, I'm not expecting anything in return. I'm just loving you, and this is enough for me. The other person definitely feels that and picks up on the energies of all of that and and enjoys it themselves. It's got a multi-layered process here, but keep that in mind. We're going to come back to that idea over here, and keep in mind this is coming from somebody who has taken some time to feel less frustrated about the relationship, definitely pulled away, got reconnected with themselves. So when they re-enter going into this, it's possible. If you feel like right now you're not in that state of mind, don't force yourself to go try to be loving when you have like in the background of your mind, and you did this, and I can't believe this, and I'm frustrated about this. You need to go feel those feelings and process them, because you shouldn't be expected to force your way into love. You know what I mean? Take your time, do what's best for you, but you are going to then re-enter this state of mind. And remember, yes, it benefits your partner in the relationship, but you're actually coming from a state of, I want to be me, and who I am is gentle and relaxed and loving. We don't have to be gentle. I mean, some people like to, have a bit of a firecracker underneath them, and we love that too. You know what I mean? But you get what I'm saying. You're coming from you, not the influence of other experiences. So going forward, now the reason why I use the term bitter is because we have the Queen of Swords in reverse. It says it in the card, but my spirit guide was expanding upon this, that there is a deep frustration and criticism you feel towards your partner. One of the frustrating aspects for someone who's a Queen of Swords is they are able to see the whole truth. So when your partner makes choices that are hurtful or mean, even if they're small, you see how not only does it affect you, and you're like hyper aware of that, but you're hyper aware of how it affects the relationship going forward. Like, they're not able to process the complex self-analysis you can just see. You can see the whole picture, you can see them, you can see yourself, and it is absolutely frustrating. And there hits a point where it feels like your partner doesn't care, that you're like, this is the problem, and they're not reciprocating that back. They're not able to connect and then make the gestures needing to be made and connected in order to resolve it. So then what ends up happening is this person with so much ability to see what's happening in the cause and effect of those choices makes you feel very critical and frustrated towards your partner and the relationship. But again, this is not somebody who's just randomly mad. This is somebody who has seen something build up over time and is really tired of this sounds very ego-driven. I don't want to say the smartest person in the room. That's not the vibe I'm going for. I'm not trying to talk about ego here. It's just, that's what it can feel like, the idea that you're kind of asking yourself, am I the only one aware of what's happening and how it's evolving and everything like that between the interactions? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Peach. Sorry, I didn't know my cat was at my feet. Anyways, sorry, I lightly bumped them. They're fine. They're back to sleeping. Anyways, so going forward, so that is why I said, if you're in this state of mind right now, don't worry, we'll come back to this. Just know when you're in a better state of mind, you can work towards this for yourself. But having this be understood, we need to rework this, because it's not a state of mind that you're particularly loving, and unfortunately your partner is just only really taking in the criticizing. I know it's super unfair because you're not actually trying to bring them down. You're frustrated because you're like, I'm asking this of you, you're showing me you don't want to listen or you don't want to take the initiative. I am tired. How are you making what should be a simple concept so difficult? That's what it feels like. You know what I mean? And so they feel criticized. I'm not saying it's right, it's just how they feel. And they are essentially pulling away, which only makes you more frustrated. And so we want to rework this, not in a way that smushes down or suppresses how you feel, but how we can view the interaction between the two of you. So first off, my spirit guide was saying that you both need to kind of just take a second to pull away. I'm not saying like a break. I mean more like, you let them know like, oh, I love you, but I think I'm going to go for a walk by myself for a couple hours. And you like go for a walk and you like sit in the park and you hang out. Or maybe both of you like go and hang out with your friends or do something chill. But you do something where, actually, no, hold on, let me just verify with my spirit guide. Yeah, okay. my spirit guide agreed. I was picking up a vibration, and then my spirit guide was agreeing with me. Both of you don't hang out with your friends. You guys want to do more self-contemplation, so both of you kind of quietly do your own thing. There's no pressure. There's no act of, and then when we come back, we're going to be this way, and you should think about what you've done. None of that. Both of you are just taking a second to decompress, to get into a different state of mind. You're just feeling better about yourself. You're reading your books. You're hanging out. You're listening to music. And you want to maybe do this for a day, a couple days, maybe even a week if you need to. My spirit guide's shaking their head like a week's not necessary. Oh, they said 2 days the most. Okay, so for like 2 days, both of you are going to do your own thing so you can get into a different state of mind and feel like you're both coming from you and not the influence of the past of the relationship. And so then this is when we move into the 10 of Pentacles in reverse. This, as my spirit guide put it, relationship does have the potential of being long-term. 10 of Pentacles is a very long-term type of relationship card, as in like children, grandchildren, that type of thing. And obviously you do not need to have kids, but what I'm saying is it's this idea of like you're in it for the long haul. You're vibing each other in the long haul. And in this scenario, both of you are going to come at this interaction between the two of you where you're more focusing on, and I love how my spirit guide put it, what can you do today that will be a long-term influence that will make both of you want to remain acquainted with each other. And I was like, ooh, what do you mean by when you say like acquainted rather than, I don't know, like another term like relationshipy or whatever. And basically my spirit guide explained that acquainted is referring to this idea of what makes you, both of you, want to come back and know each other. So again, pretend there's no investments with each other. There's no, like we're not talking about kids, nothing. Just throw that mentally out the window. Why do you want to keep showing up, pretend both of you have no obligations with each other, and you just every day you're going, why do I want to keep seeing you of all people? Why do I think you're the best? Essentially, it's a totally more deeper version of the idea of dating, basically. But you're just asking the question repeatedly, what do I do now that has a longer term effect that makes me want to keep seeing you? Both of you are doing this for each other. And that was a big thing my spirit guide said, is that you want to sit your partner down after these like 2 days of contemplation between the two of you, where you have that discussion where you say, hey, I'm not here to criticize. I'm not here to bring anything up from the past, nothing like that. We're going to approach this in a totally different state of mind for both of us. I'm going to make gestures and show you that I would like to keep knowing you in the long term, that if you kept knowing me in the long term, you would want to experience more of this. And vice versa, the other partner does as well. So they're not going to view themselves as someone who, and again, I'm not saying they don't need to change or reevaluate some things, they do things, but like, here's a good example. Let's say they don't pitch around certain parts of the house, right? There are certain chores they don't want to do, and you really would love that help, right? So that's just like a daily life type of thing, right? Let's say that's it. Right? Instead of you coming at them with a different state of mind where you're like, why don't you ever help me? It's really frustrating that you see me, struggling and you're not helping. Instead, and again, those feelings are valid. Instead, they're going to ask themselves when they see you doing that chore they normally don't help out in, and they need to evaluate themselves and say, how are my actions and choices I'm making right now make you want to show up tomorrow and the next day? And if they then helped you with that chore, that thing, you would think, this is really nice. I'd like to keep seeing this person. I'd like to keep being acquainted with them. So that's the main goal, is you're going to have a deep conversation, and both of you are going to kind of start this relationship with a fresh mind. You're not referencing the past anymore, and you're both going to ask yourself, when it comes to your gestures, what are you doing now that will make you both want to keep seeing each other in the long term? And you want to view everything that way. And it can't just involve things like a cup of coffee. It has to be like what gesture makes you feel like closer. And sometimes closeness comes from sharing a shared chore. Sometimes closeness comes from them noticing something about you. And you ask them, with your actions, how do you feel like you're bringing that? And you're mutually coming at it going forward with that mentality. Both of you are. It's very lighthearted. You're not bringing up anything else around it. You're just both living almost as independent people that are interacting with each other. And as you're independently interacting with each other, the other one's going to involve themselves and vice versa. Now, going forward, we have the Four of Pentacles, which is a confirmation that the two of you are going to get to a much stronger place. It's going to feel a lot more solid because of this. The gestures between the two of you are going to feel a lot more derived from love. You're going to both be noticing each other and what the other one needs a lot easier. There'll be more of like the past being left behind. But notice you got the Four of Pentacles and not the Four of Wands. This is actually something my spirit guide brought up because I always, sometimes my spirit guide will say certain cards reference certain other ideas, and I'll be like, oh, but then why didn't you give me that other card? And they will like elaborate because, every card has like a very specific tone and meaning. And I loved what they said. They said Four of Wands is like a happy like home situation where it's just about this energy that is what it is. There's no frustrated past. There's no influence that would imply this home is anything other than what it is. The Four of Pentacles is somebody who feels stronger and chiller and calmer and feels more sturdy, but they do need to take intervals where they sort of process all this new information because they are still letting go the frustrations of the past. So what you're going to do as you move forward with these like this new mindset both of you have and frustrations is you're going to both basically say to one another every now and then, let's take 1 or 2 days to be away from each other, to just sort of be in our headspace. The thing with feelings is you never know when they pop up. Like your partner can be doing like all the right things, and then out of nowhere, like that really angry part of you kind of can come out and be like, why didn't you do this before? You know what I mean? And that's okay, but it's like you don't know when that's going to happen. And think of these like time periods where you're sort of pulling back, taking a second to process all this new stuff. Both of you like in a healthy way, like processing and letting go of those emotions. Again, not repressing, processing. You're processing them, you're feeling them out, you're allowing things to be how they are, you're forgiving yourself that you're having these feelings because they're not bad, you're just processing everything. And then you go back to this headspace, then you process, you get the gist. Now, the last thing you're going to do as you enter this time period, and I think it's a really interesting full swing from Queen of Swords, this is why I was so interested, is the Page of Swords is this focused concept where repeatedly going forward, my spirit guide said that both of you, it's important, both of you need to be incredibly verbal in the relationship with compliments. And my spirit guide made it very clear that it needs to be something that is repeated, like every little silly thing. So for example, you put on a pair of shoes and your partner goes, I think those are really cool shoes. You might have bought them forever ago, but there's this like compliment of being like, oh, thanks for liking my style. And then, you see them like push back their hair in a cute way or like tuck in their shirt. And you take a moment to be like, oh, that looks really nice on you. I think that really brings out this on you or something like that. Or maybe you finished work early and they compliment like, wow, you're really good at like organizing like your information and time. Like constantly, any stream of consciousness where they thought something slightly nice and don't think it's a compliment, like where they just notice that and there's a small part of their brain that's like, I like that. Both of you are going to constantly do that for each other. So again, remember, things are moving in a much more positive direction, but it's okay if you need time to take a second to breathe. You're approaching this relationship without a past, so to speak, and you're always saying, what am I doing? And then they're asking themselves, what am I doing to make this other person want to keep knowing me from the next day to the next and keep rebringing in that headspace, and you're constantly letting the other one know that you're noticing things about them and that you constantly like those things about them. So overall, a really wonderful turnaround. I love how there's like a deep acknowledgement for your feelings, but a really fantastic way to regroup and reevaluate this for both of you. Because I will say one last thing, even though we felt frustrated that the partner took your frustrations as just criticism, like they weren't hearing you, as much as that's frustrating in itself, this puts them in a totally different headspace that enables them to bring to you what you were looking for in the beginning. So it really shows that there's always a different way to approach things and get sort of, I don't want to say get the result you want, but yeah, I guess, turn things around in the end, I guess you could say. So please let me know what you think in the comments below. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'm genuinely very curious, and I love you guys so much, and let's get ready for group number 2. Group number 2, let's look at your couples predictions by looking at the cards. Your affirmation card. Directing my focus onto what's thriving creates more of what I want. I get the tiniest feeling that could be a little annoying for you to hear, almost like subconscious, like, no, it isn't kind of vibe. Don't worry, we're going to come back to it in a way that feels more digestible, I guess is the word to say. So let's move forward and look at the rest of your cards. We have Temperance in reverse. We have the World card in reverse. We have the Six of Cups in reverse. Ooh, the Tower card in reverse. I really want to look into this one. This one feels pretty important. So just give me a second to do that, look at all the details, and consult my spirit guides, and I'll be with you in one moment. Interesting. Okay. So let's talk about, this is so interesting. So in the World card in reverse, my spirit guide talked about this idea that both of you in the relationship are looking for a reason as to why life is better with the two of you together rather than apart. It doesn't feel malicious. It doesn't feel like the two of you have secret motives against each other or anything like that. It's just much more contemplative and introspective. There's almost a detachment in the perspective or having these ideas and being like, what was life before like with them? What could life be without them or with them? What am I getting out of this situation type of thing? Again, I'm not saying there's not love there, but it's interesting when we talk about that sort of a little bit indirect type of perspective, the detached, a little bit once removed type of thing with what we have going on over here and where it will lead. But we're not there yet. So this is not about you as a couple finding that reason and then therefore being like, you're right, we do have more love together, or you're right, we make more money together, or whatever. It's about reevaluating that perspective. Let me ask the crew one thing right here. Okay, so this card over here is the one that sort of created that mentality between the two of you. The Six of Cups in reverse in this particular case talks about the two of you focusing on what did work in the past of the relationship and kind of overly focusing on that in hopes to bring it into the now. It's interesting, the Six of Cups in reverse is usually seen as a negative card because it's somebody who is not allowing momentum in their life because they're hyper fixated on the past. And that's the thing here. It's like the two of you are a little confused. You're not quite sure what's happening now. It's like you're not against each other. It's not bad. It's just, is it complacent? Again, going back to you feel like both of you need a reason. But it's not helping, it's stemming from over here in the Six of Cups in reverse, because we have somebody who's like trying to recreate what did work. And it wasn't just the interactions between the two of you, it was a headspace between the two of you. It's like you were feeling in the moment, you were feeling a sense of life being a little bit brighter than it was before. And again, then your headspace is like, yeah, you know what? That's why we wanted to be together. When in reality, you weren't viewing the initial getting together and what was like thriving between you two so well as your life being better because the two of you were being in it. You just were enjoying the two of you and feeling really elevated by each other's interactions and taking it for what it was. Now, I'm really happy to say this, like the main source of this perspective and interaction, which is an issue, a very big one when we have the Tower card in reverse. But I'm also happy to say you have the Tower card in reverse, because this talks about this coming to an end, a long-standing issue coming to a closure. So how is this coming to a closure in order to reevaluate this perspective and take on this relationship in a totally different headspace? We have these two cards over here. So first, I'm going to focus on the Temperance card in reverse. This is a totally different way of evaluating your everyday life. Because again, when you ask this question of what is making our lives better by being together, like seeing life as a whole in this way through the two of you interacting, you're actually asking a bigger question of life in general for yourself. And so are they in themselves. So it's like you're using the relationship as an excuse to either say like, oh, this is why it's not going well or is going well, or not an excuse, like you're kind of redirecting it in a way that's not actually the truth and is not really helpful to your relationship or yourselves. You're looking for the answer. And so again, this is not a criticism. You're just like, okay, I think this may be the thing that's missing in my life. I don't know. So in the Temperance card, this asks you to constantly check in with yourself, both of you, independently and separately, and say, when you do anything, and it's really big. My spirit guide, it's interesting. When they were describing it, it's like your relationship isn't even the main point of this reading, so to speak. Instead of the relationship taking like 100% of the idea, it feels like when we talk about doing interactions, we're not just talking about how you interact with your partner, we're talking about like how you interact with yourself, how you interact with the world around you. Think of interacting with your partner as like 1/6 of the puzzle piece of everything else. So when you interact with your partner, interact with your everyday life, interact with strangers, your job, your loved ones, whatever may have you, you're always going to say, when I was interacting or chose to do an interaction or whatever, how did that make me feel? And then this is the really important part. What were the results of that feeling? You could kind of see it a little bit like a science experiment. I do think that you should be aware of not becoming hyper fixated on, I felt this way, okay, what happened next? You do want to give it some space and air to breathe and exist, but you're going to every now and then check back in with yourself and go, when I felt good in this way, this was the result. How did that result, what did that result feel like afterwards? Did I like that result? Or did that result make me feel good initially, but now looking back, it wasn't ultimately what I really wanted? So what headspace was I in to think and connect with that feeling? And you're constantly doing that with everything. And what you're doing is you're essentially totally reevaluating what you can have out of life, what that experience can be like. You're sort of rechecking in with your emotions, because sometimes things that make us feel really good in the moment are actually not in the long-term things that give us happiness or give us fulfillment. So you're sort of seeing the, oops, so sorry about that. I bumped the mic. You're seeing the results of that. You're checking in with that concept and idea, but you're also interacting with the relationship itself and saying to your partner and vice versa, them to you, you're saying, okay, again, this isn't about finding a reason, but saying, when I am nice and loving to you, I really like being that person. And the results were I felt more like myself and you felt more connected to me. When I'm pretending I'm you and you're interacting with your partner. When that we took time to be really open and vulnerable with each other, I really liked hearing how open and vulnerable you were. And it was a really great way to spend time. And I realized one of the ways I like spending time is going a little bit deeper. And who doesn't love, this is just like a side note, who doesn't love those conversations that start deep off in one way and then go off in a totally different direction of depth, but each time you're like, whoa, it's like you're making connections and puzzle pieces are joining together from the universe. You get what I'm saying? So with that being the case, over here, you're basically just constantly checking in with yourself and saying, when I made this choice in the moment, how did it feel? And then what were the results? And then from there, you're refine-tuning how you're interacting with life. So if things don't make you feel good, you wouldn't want to do that interaction again, whether that be with your partner or somebody else. But you're re-evaluating how to interact and interpret your emotional reactions to things, but you're also realizing and that you're reconnecting with life itself. You're not looking for life in sort of a measurement the way like a job would, or even how celebrities, when they're climbing up the social ladder, they're asking themselves, how much more popular can I get if, I enter this PR relationship, or I interact with this, movie or this other person or something like that. You're getting out of that headspace and you're just rechecking back in a different way. And because like for you don't need or want to hear be more present. That's not what you need. You want to feel, how can I interact and connect more to this and enjoy seeing how it all develops and breaks down, and what are the results of that. So it's like a bit of experimentation, a bit of fun, a bit of reconnecting, and there's a lot of like sharing this with your partner because they're doing it too, and having fun and feeling reconnected in the relationship and retuned in. And we go from this like indirect mentality to very direct, very conscious, very like at the forefront of being like, oh yeah, I'm with you and I love you and I'm vibing this. But going on, because these two are together, is we have directing my focus onto what's thriving creates more of what I want. I want you to kind of sort of throw out the window the idea of like the law of attraction right now, because sometimes I'm not putting any criticism towards it or saying that it isn't like real or anything like that. I'm just simply saying sometimes we hear certain things over and over and over again and they lose their meaning, and we even can feel a different type of way about it due to other influences and interactions. So you're going to put that out of your head right now. And instead, you're going to more focus on, again, this headspace. We talked about how you felt and then what was the result of that. Think about in your life where you are now or at other points of it, where were you putting your focus? And then what was the result of that? Did you feel that you were enjoying the way you felt in your life based on whatever headspace? And you can think of different headspaces that you can potentially recall back to. So again, you're more saying to yourself, well, if I focus a lot on things that make me unhappy and make me feel disconnected, I feel more disconnected and not great. And potentially that could create, events in your life that are a mirror of that. But you're going to say to yourself, well, obviously you don't want that. You really like the idea of figuring out what it is that you do like and then having more of that. And so again, we're simplifying it. We're really simplifying it. If it ever feels complicated, there's nothing wrong with making something more simple. You're going to say to yourself, well, I don't know what I like, but I can in the moment discover that. and then put my attention towards that more. And so what you're doing is you're going to figure out how you feel, the results of that, look at that as an entire picture every now and then, and check in with yourself maybe once a day, every few days. Look at the different results of those interactions and feelings, and say to yourself, well, I did like this thing, and I like more of that. So you're going to put your attention there more. You're not going to look at what makes you feel disconnected or looking for something outside of yourself, like the reason. You're going to just focus on being like, okay, well, I like more of that idea. I want to hear more about that narrative, or I like that feeling, or I like that interaction. And you're just going to put your focus there, because your headspace is like, okay, when I focus there, I can be in a better position to see it more, to find it more, to think about creating it more myself. You see what I'm saying here? So with these two together, you get much more connected to yourself. You get much more direct with you and your partner. You get to have this totally different experience in life, and you get to have the funnest experience of all, which is discovering and being in the process of understanding what that looks like for you and your partner, even if you have no idea, and letting go of what you think it could be and having fun in the moment of discovering what it is. I definitely highly recommend viewing it like an experiment. That is the most like fun. I get the vibe you and your partner are going to have. Being like, wow, it's so interesting. This made me feel bad, but I liked the results of that. So does sometimes when I feel bad, it's actually me pushing up against like self-limiting beliefs sometimes? You know what I mean? It's really just like an interesting way of how everything will develop. So, please, let me know what you think. I'd love to genuinely know. This reading went in a totally different direction than I thought it was. It's a really interesting place to start as a relationship, and I love the ending of it for both of you. So please, let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. I will see you in the next one. Love you so much. And let's get ready for group number 3. Group number 3. Let's look at your couples predictions by looking at the cards. Your affirmation card is "In stillness I receive." Ooh, that is an interesting one. Your tarot cards are the Strength card upright. Then we have 4 of Wands upright. 3 of Wands in reverse. Oh, and 5 of Swords in reverse. There are some vibes here. Okay, so give me a second to look at all the details and consult my spirit guides, and I will be with you in one moment. Interesting. See, this is exactly why I love tarot. People are very complex, and like multiple things can be true at once. Multiple happinesses and unhappinesses, and sometimes even if you set up all of this other stuff and it makes it seem like it's not a great situation or an unhappy situation, it can also not be, and it can also be great in other ways. It's really fascinating. So first, let's get started with what we have going on over here on the affirmation card and the Strength card, because both are really important to get a temperature gauge of you and your partner. So in the stillness I receive affirmation card, right away, the subtext to me and what I got confirmed to my spirit guide is there's a lot of movement. Like you're overstimulated and you don't really get a second to kind of have that moment be quiet enough where first those initial feelings rush through you. you let them exist, then there's a little more silence, and then finally how you feel, what you're thinking, whatever you're processing comes to the surface. It's almost like buried down deep. Again, not trying to bury it down deep, but just that's what happens sometimes when we get overloaded. Now, I'm going to come back to this in 1 second, but the reason why you're overstimulated is because of your partner in the Strength card. My spirit guide said that they're very focused on getting what they want now, and they kind of really throw it in your face very often to the point that you're kind of having to deal with it. So this is a very wide range of whatever that means, you know what I mean? In various, as in like, various avenues in the relationship this pops up, but it's very much that energy of like, I want to do this now, let's go do this thing now, this is how I'm feeling, this is how we're going to resolve it, this is what I'm in the mood for, this is how I'm feeling, blah blah blah, or like if they're upset about their job or something like that and they express it, it's always like, this is me now, and you're just sort of like dealing with it. And again, I don't really get the vibe, and especially the other cards not popping up. I don't get a vibe that it's like intense fighting. Even my spirit guide said like not at all. It's more just they're a very intense personality and you're kind of always dealing with like reacting and managing their emotions, which then doesn't really leave enough quiet room for you to contemplate and think and evaluate yourself. And I don't mean just evaluate how you perceive the relationship. I just mean more, you just don't have time to think and exist as you. I get this heavy subtext that you're definitely someone who needs a lot of alone time and needs space in time enough for your feelings to come to the surface. And again, we're not talking about your feelings of how you're responding and you feel about this other person, just more like, what do you think and feel? And because you're having this just overloaded to you, you're not only not getting the room to get that, but it's kind of overwhelming you to a certain degree. So one of the biggest things I'll say before we go forward is it is really important that you start making that an important thing. Like, even if you have to tell your partner that, you know, you get off work at whatever time you get off and you're like not coming home for 2 hours, and you make it very clear to them, you know, you need 2 hours to just sit in your car, sit at a park, breathe, have a Starbucks by yourself, anything you need to do to relax. In fact, actually, I highly recommend in the comments now, if anybody has great decompressing hobbies, please share it. We love decompressing hobbies. I feel like in this day and age, we all like enjoy them and need them and thrive from them. So please share them, whatever they are, and please share joint decompressing hobbies. And what I mean by that is, like, one time I saw a girl who likes to knit, but she likes to knit in the river, and so she has something that holds her supplies as she's like doing her thing, but she's just like sitting in the river while she's doing this. Or sometimes people like to craft and make things while they watch like a particular TV show, things like that. I feel like those are always winning combination of things that chill people out. So anyways, remember that, come back to that. Now, this is what I mean by the human experience is so fascinating. You know, while we are talking about how your partner kind of overloads you with their own needs, that they're clearly very, you know, they identify their feelings and reactions very quickly, and they want to share it with you, and they want you to help them with it, and it's very intense, and they're in touch with it very directly. We, though, still have the Four of Wands upright. And my spirit was saying that overall, you like your home situation. This is not a situation where your partner is making it a space where you completely, it ruins everything else. Like, you like where you live. You like aspects about it. Like, maybe you have like a really great coffee maker, or you like how things are set up and you decorated it, or maybe it's like got a really great location near things or something like that, or you like how when you come home from work the two of you go for a walk nearby or something like that. There's like, and I'm not just talking about like physical location of your house. Oh, hold on, my spirit guide's interrupting. Okay, so yes, okay. So yes, I'm talking about that, but also simultaneously, I'm talking about like home life, like with your partner, like with them. There are a lot of aspects that are a nice thing for you that you do enjoy. There are positive things about that. However, there are still things that could be even better. So keep that in mind. We're going to come back to that idea. But that is a really great way to temperature gauge something that you didn't realize was the thesis of the spread, but also temperature gauge where you are at with this other person. Again, they're overloading you, but that doesn't mean it isn't like a relationship, an overall daily life that you dislike. And I'm actually happy to say it's going to get a lot better. Now, we do have a little more of some issues popping up mixed with some resolve. So in the Three of Wands in reverse, this explicitly talks about how your partner is not picking up your subtle cues at all. All the kind of messages you're leaving them by the way you're reacting to things, maybe you zone out, maybe when you start to get overwhelmed, or you get really quiet and you stop speaking or something like that, they just are not hearing it at all. And there's just a complete disconnect to you trying to say like, hey, this is what I need right now. Especially when we have the Five of Swords popping up, there is just like a confronting, and we can see it over here in the Strength card as well, there's just like a confronting way about them. They're very intense, and because of this interaction, that's how it feels to you. Again, sometimes they're just sharing their day-to-day life with you, or sharing, like maybe they feel frustrated and they're sharing a complaint or something, but to you it feels super confronting and you're like tired of it. You're exhausted by this nature and you've been trying to let them know, but if you're feeling like, why are they ignoring it? They're not ignoring it. They're like misinterpreting these messages you're giving them, or it's just full on disconnect. Oh, my spirit guide's interrupting again. My spirit guide said mostly they're just totally not getting it or receiving the messages you're sending their way because of this mentality. So in the Five of Swords in reverse, it does show that you're going to just like hit this point where you're done, where you're like, I can't do this type of confronting day-to-day situation anymore. And this is like a really great boundary you set. It's almost like you have made this internal decision and you do share it with your partner very upfrontly, like, hey, this is how it comes across. I can't do this anymore. It is overwhelming. And you really won't put up with it. Like, I'm getting a very, like, my spirit guide was showing me like a strong imagery of you full on walking away when they get too like hyper and when they're expressing themselves. And you make it very clear to them that like you're pulling away or going to not interact with it at all when they bring this kind of energy. And the cool thing about it is I asked my spirit guide at the end of this reading, like, is there anything in particular you should know because of all this information? And they said that it will work out way better than this individual thinks, and not to underestimate as much quiet time as you need. And destimulating, they said that you really need to like get off your phone massively. Like anything that's like scrolling or like social media, you're just gonna like full on put your phone on the charger, put it in another room. You're just going to get off of it. You need a lot of quiet time to reconnect to what you want and your feelings. And you're also simultaneously going forward, setting this boundary with you and your partner, that's not the interaction that enables you to process things in both a comfortable manner, like just like your day-to-day comfort style, but also you can't fully enjoy what it is they have to share and express and basically react in your own autonomy if you can't even think and like know what it is you think. So again, this isn't about telling your partner that they can't be connected to their emotions and they can't be very in the moment with sharing it with you. Like things don't need to necessarily be at such a slow pace for them. You know what I mean? They can still be themselves. It's just that they are too intense. Like they need to be aware of that and how much that it doesn't come off in a way they think it does, and they need to basically come at you with more of a chiller, gentler manner, but they can still be very like direct and be like, this is what I'm thinking and feeling. But they also do need to be acknowledged that sometimes in what they think is connecting to you and sharing their thoughts and feelings is a little too me centric. Again, I don't see in the cards that it's like such like a selfish problem. It's more like they think that they're bonding with you and they're unaware that in that mentality they are actually like disconnecting with you, because they're either overwhelming you and they're not taking a moment, like a pause in between their sharing to be like, hey, what do you think? Pause, give you lots of space to like breathe and think about it. And they need to like really slow down themselves the way you need to slow down to connect to yourselves. They need to slow down to be a better at reading your energy. So sometimes they're like, what's happening? I don't understand. Why do you seem like you're pulling away? And if they just slow down, they could be like, whoa, I am coming at you with a lot of energy. I'm really intense in this like simple explanation. And you clearly are showing me through the way you're responding to me that you're overwhelmed and you need a minute. And I can give you that minute, and then we can progress and move forward. So again, I love what my spirit guide added to this too. They said that your life is like happy, like your home situation is like great, but you shouldn't compromise or not ask for it to be the next level or like absolutely fulfilling. You can like aspects of it. You don't need to be like, yeah, I like parts of it, but like, oh, it's okay. I get a little overwhelmed here and there. You're allowed to be like, no, I want every part of it to be the best possible experience that it can be. So that's like your motivation. You're setting a boundary. That includes that over here. You're putting that into practice. You're getting off your phone. You're chilling out. You're decompressing. You're reconnecting. You're teaching your partner through your own connection to yourself that they also need to practice a version of that, but your partner still can simultaneously be themselves. Just like, you know, they can tell you a story without it being that level of intense. So I love this for both of you. It is really shows that the human nature and experience both individually and between people is much more complex than it seems, and that you are allowed to ask for more in life, but don't forget that sometimes when we're asking our partners to compromise, that doesn't mean they have to stop being themselves, but that also doesn't mean you have to stop being yourself or stop connecting to yourself. So I love this for you and your partner, and I would love to know what you guys think below. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe. I will see you in the next one. I love you so much. Goodbye.